Good morning, Unity Community. I am your host, Janet Law, and I am so grateful to welcome you to the Unity Center. Whether you're joining us here in the sanctuary or tuning in on Zoom or YouTube, you are an important part of this community. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We warmly welcome all people, all faiths, and all lifestyles. We begin by acknowledging that we gather on the ancestral and unceded territory of the lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, who have lived in deep connection with this land since time immemorial. We honor their presence, and we welcome and come together to learn, grow, and deepen in spirit. And you know, it is Father's Day, so the co-founder of Unity, Charles Fillmore, said this: "Bless what you receive, bless what you send out. God's plenteous substance moves in and through our mind constantly, like a light shining in the darkness." And because it's Father's Day, he was considered the father of unity, and so we want to acknowledge that today. Couple of very quick quotes. One by Linda Poindexter: "When my father didn't have my hand, he had my back." Isn't it wonderful to know that someone has your back? And Pam Brown said, "Dads are most ordinary men, turned by love into heroes, adventures, storytellers, and singers of song." So whoever that father is in your life, let's acknowledge that now. We begin with our Unity mission statement, which is simple but powerful: to build personal and community well-being through universal teachings and practices. Whether you've been with us for years or today is your first time, we're so glad you are here. We are so glad you are here. And now, we come fully into this moment, and I invite you to join us in our opening invocation. There is one presence and one power, active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Let's begin by grounding ourselves with these 5 affirmations. My faith is my foundation, steady and strong. I am safe to grow, explore, and become. I carry the wisdom of those who came before me. Each act of kindness I've received lives on in me. Today I lead with faith, love, and an open heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now it is my pleasure to welcome Reverend Terry O.Shea back to Unity of Vancouver. Terry is a former Trappist monk who has been a student of Zen Buddhism. Fun fact that you may not know is that in his earlier years, Terry was a bus driver. So today, let's allow him to take us all further along the spiritual path.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be back with you again. It's always wonderful to see familiar faces and people who seem happy to see me. That's good. I want to take a moment in particular to offer a happy Father's Day to all of the fathers out there. Yes, and your role in the life of your children and your sons in particular is very important. And so know that I hold you in my heart today, and I hope to inspire you with some thoughts about fatherhood.
And now, if you can all please join us in singing our translation of the Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer, which will then lead us into our meditation time.
Spirit, creator and life and all. You create a space inside us and fill it with your presence. Our oneness now prevails. Your one desire flows through ours as energy fills all forms. You give us this day our physical and spiritual nourishment. You untangle the knots of error that bind us as we also release others. We don't let appearances make us forgetful of our source. We're born free to act from our highest nature. From your presence comes the glorious harmony of life. Now these words are fertile ground from which our future grows. Amen.
And a copy of the Aramaic prayer that we just sang is available with complete wording in the seat backs if you want to take that home. And now, our meditation.
I propose to do something a little bit different for meditation today. I'm very grateful to have had a chance to sit down to dinner with Zen Roshi last week. And it brought back to me all of the painful memories of sitting in Zazen for 20 minutes while the Jikijitsu walked around with a stick. And if you lost your balance or fell asleep, he'd whack you 2 or 3 times. And then you'd get up and walk, if you could, for 10 minutes before sitting down again. And this went on for 2 or 3 hours at a time. But I remember my teacher saying to me, no matter what is going on, take the one seat. And so that's what I propose to do with you today. There'll be a lot of silence. But I want to encourage you to take the one seat. I'll only say a few words this time, but let's begin, even in this moment, to close our eyes and breathe in, and then let the breath go out so easily, so easily. And then settle yourself in that one seat where you feel secure and safe. And now as you feel the mind clear, the pulse slow, the body relax, I invite you to bring to mind the very first memory you have of your father. I invite you to pay attention to what is coming up for you now. Thought, emotion, just sit with it. And now I invite you to become curious. What must it have been like to be him? What must he have felt in that moment? Known or seen? What were his dreams for himself and for you? Be with him in that moment, just as you were then. And now ask yourself, what am I missing? What am I missing? And journey with me just a little further now. I invite you to bring to mind the most recent memory that you have with your Father, or perhaps even the last moment that you had with him. Bring him to mind. See his face. Be aware of what you're feeling. So much present now. From that first memory to this one. Such a journey that you have made, perhaps together, perhaps at a distance. But no matter. There he is. But what are you missing? Ask yourself one more time, what am I missing?
Good night, my angel, time to close your eyes and save these questions for another day. I think I know what you've been asking me. I think you know what I've been trying to say. I promised I would never leave you, and you should always know, wherever you may go, no matter where you are, I will never be far away. Good night, my angel, now it's time to sleep. And still so many things I want to say. Remember all the songs you sang for me when we went sailing on an emerald bay. And like a boat out on an ocean, I'm rocking you to sleep. The water's dark and deep inside this ancient heart. You will always be a part of me. Good night, my angel, now it's time to dream. And dream how wonderful your life will be. Someday your child may cry, and if you sing this lullaby, then in your heart there will always be a part of me. Someday we'll all be gone, but lullabies go on and on. They never die. That's how you and I will be.
Thank you, Beverly, as always. Amazing, amazing. Is that a Billy Joel song?
It is Billy Joel for his father.
Thank you so much. Well, given where we are in the world these days, wherever that is, I have been spending a lot of time thinking about values. And I'm curious about the fact that the word value itself is linked to money. And so what I started doing is I started reflecting on how much of our language around relationship is in the language of money. Withdrawals from relationships. Well, the one that really struck me was trust. I dated someone at one point who lived off a trust fund. And he never had to work or do anything. He just had to wait for the money to come in. And I often thought to myself, that must be wonderful. You know, you just hang out, do whatever you want to do, and money comes to you, and you can always trust that it's going to be there. That was not my experience, as a matter of fact. As a matter of fact, every time I do a job, even here, I live a little bit anxiously for the next few days until I get paid, because I don't trust that people actually want to pay me. Now that's an interesting admission, and it led me to one of my favorite writers, authors, and a book that Stephen Jenkinson wrote called Money and the Soul's Desires. And in it, he quotes this particular gentleman. He tells a story. He's a wonderful storyteller. And he tells a story about this gentleman who was a mentor to him, to Stephen, when he was younger. And he said that what a blessing this man was. He said, I thought that I could get benefit from his connections and hitch a ride on his success, because my father had left early, and so I had lived mostly fatherless through most of my life. We sat, and I expected him to share some wisdom with me. He more or less ignored me. But after some silence, he said this: I've been very fortunate. I've stayed healthy. My wife didn't turn my kids against me. I've stayed busy doing what I love to do. I have enough money, the house is paid for, and I don't need much else. I got everything I asked for. But I never asked for love, and so I never got any. My talk today is the faith of our fathers. It's a very common old hymn in the old tradition, and very common with my people, the Irish, and was very common in my mother's family. My mother was a war bride, and I always thought that would be some sort of an amazing, miraculous, romantic thing to be a war bride. You know, you're living in this small life in Scotland, and you're penniless and no prospects. And then this dashing Canadian sailor appears, and he's all handsome and crazy and wild and just enjoying himself, because after all, he could leave the Firth of Clyde and be dead within a couple of hours. So he was living it up. And so imagine how exciting that would be. Well, it was exciting for my mother. She was a Scottish Catholic, something somewhat unusual in the 1920s. And so, being a Catholic, they had to live in the ghetto with the Irish, because Catholics were not particularly popular in Scotland at the time. My mother told stories of looking for a job as a teenager and shop windows having a sign that said, "No Catholics need apply." And so my grandfather felt very disadvantaged living in this ghetto, which is exactly what it was, with all of these disenfranchised Catholics. And my mother naturally felt the same. So imagine marrying this dashing, handsome Canadian and going to Canada. Well, it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. The isolation of the farm in Saskatchewan, eventually on Thetis Island, got to my mom. And when I was 2, she just packed us both up, left Thetis Island, made her way to Vancouver, and eventually made her way to Montreal, got on a ship and returned to Scotland. She was there until I was 4. And then her father said to her one day, "That Wayne needs a father, and you need a husband." And he forcibly took my mother and I to Southampton and put us on a ship and sent us back. My mother never spoke to her father again. And when he died, when I was in my 20s, she had never seen him again, nor did she go back to Scotland for the funeral. She never forgave him. My grandfather was working out of a value that he had, a family value. A boy needs a father, you need a husband, you're going back. My mother was operating from a value, one that I've inherited. My friends say to me, "We should put this on Terry's tombstone." I'm not doing that. And that was my mother's philosophy. I'm not doing that, especially if you tell me to. I subtitled this talk, "The Tale of Two Fathers," because now I want to tell you a second story of a father. This one relates to the quote from Money and the Soul's Desires, but it's also one of the most important stories of my life. When I was in my 20s, I met a girl after I left the monastery and after I left the Zen community. I met a beautiful young woman at university, and a short time later we married. We were married for a couple of years, but it was pretty obvious, as she told me just recently, well, that relationship was going nowhere. And so we got a divorce, or we were getting a divorce, and I was going over to visit my dad on Salt Spring Island. And Amy, my wife, was supposed to come with me, but because we were a little bit on the outs, she decided not to come. I got over to Salt Spring, and my dad was talking about the woodlot above his property. He was going to chop down some trees. The people had given him permission. He was going to skid them down the hill, and he'd have firewood for the winter. And did I want to go up with him and see the woodlot? And so, of course, we trekked up the hill, and he was pointing out various trees, and a couple he'd taken down already. And my dad was one of these, well, he was a seafarer, obviously having been in the Navy, and a bit of a wild man. And so he sat down on a stump not too far away from me, rolled himself a cigarette and started smoking. And without looking at me, he says, "So, bub, when are you going to tell me why Amy didn't come over with you this weekend?" And you can imagine where I went with that. I said, "Well, Dad, Amy and I are getting a divorce." "Oh? And why is that?" So I stood there for a while, and I finally got up enough courage, and I said, "Dad, I'm gay." And he went, "What?" And I thought, oh, shit. He doesn't know what gay is. So I had to start explaining. "Dad, I'm homosexual." And that was the moment when he looked up at me, and he looked over like this, and he said, "What are you crying for?" And I said, "Well, I thought when I told you what I just said, you wouldn't love me anymore." And he said, "You're still my son, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay, well, we should go down and get some dinner." That was the one and only time that conversation ever took place. My father's love and acceptance of me was total. There was no reservations. Every time we spent time together after that, he was always pleasant to me and to anybody I happened to be dating at the time. I never asked for love, at least not directly. But in that moment, I did. And that moment, he was there. I had no memories of my father before I was 6. Nothing at all. And so when I got back from Scotland and he got back from his second tour of duty in Korea, I had to get to know this man. I didn't know him really until I was in my 30s. He lived from a set of values that I knew nothing about until I was an adult. But what I did know was that I did not trust love, and that I never have. The question for consideration today is, what are the values that we have received? And what are the values that we are transmitting? What is it that we hold so dear to us that it is something almost unfelt? In other words, most of the stuff that I think is so important to us and so important for our life and our living is buried so deep sometimes that something has to happen to bring it out. What I'm aware of more than any time in my life is how much is going on that is challenging my values and making me ask myself, what are those values? What were the values of my fathers and my father before him, and before him? And what am I doing with them? I am aware that as a child born in the 40s, I have lived in a world of constantly expanding and expressing possibility. And I feel that that is changing. I feel that our life is in a state of such stress and turmoil that a lot of the things we used to take for granted are no longer there as a given. And so we must find those things that are of value to us. So I've been digging really hard. And I return to those things that my teacher conveyed to me when I started studying for ministry. And that is, and I'm going to deal with this one only today, I am spirit having a human experience. And I want to bring your attention to that because the words are intentional. I'm not saying we are spirits. I am saying I am spirit having a human experience. And what that tells me, and this is the faith of my father, all problems, therefore, all problems our spiritual problems. So whatever it looks like on the outside, whatever challenge that we are facing, it is fundamentally a spiritual problem, because that is what we are. Now, it's being expressed in the realm of our life and our experiences, but the bottom line is, it is a spiritual problem. And I say that because the only way to solve that problem is to attack it spiritually, not the other way around. See, we're so intent on, and we have learned this legitimately, we're so intent on fixing everything out there. If I can only get this in place, if I can only get this relationship to work, if I can only get that person to change, if I can only get a better job, things will be fine. But as I had to learn, if you want to have a better relationship, then you have to trust. That had never occurred to me. I would just try and make it work, push it into shape, get it to look right, the right things said, the right things done at the right time. But as I was reflecting on this, that memory of my father came back to me. It was the right time, and it was the right place, but I was not ready for it. And as you heard me say, there was no trust that once I uttered those words, I would be loved. And I can tell you, the love of my father was the love I needed most. This stranger that had come into my life when I was 6 years old. There's a wonderful song by Jane Oliver. It's called A Song for My Father. And I don't remember all the lyrics, but I remember one lyric in particular where she is singing this song to her father, and she said, "Did you see yourself in me? Where did it go? Where did those days go? Did you know I loved you? Did you know? I wish we could be together, walking for a while. I know I'd make you happy. I know I'd make you smile." I wrote down the lyrics of that song and put them in the breast pocket of my father's suit when he was in his casket before his final service. There is something so valuable about looking at our life through the spiritual lens and knowing that it is not faith in God that supports us. It is not faith in that power that is the source of our good. But it is the faith of that power. We must have the faith of God, not faith in God, but we must embody that faith that brought us here. That faith that sustains us every day that we are here. And the faith that calls us home when this chapter of our life is done. But it is the faith that life has in us that is being called forth now, I believe, more than ever. It is the faith in life itself and in the power that is in us to make this life what we want it to be. But the work is not done out here. It's all done in here. I had a dream last night, a really powerful dream, and it was so powerful. Even now, as I'm going to share it with you, I cannot remember whether this actually happened to me and I was dreaming about something that had happened, or whether it's just something fictional. But I was here at Unity, and I was preparing for an event. And I was suddenly filled with the wonder of the fact that this place was here to begin with, that all of the activity that was going on here was so beautifully orchestrated, that the house was full. And I remember in my dream thinking, this building is a tribute to an idea. You know, other denominations, so to speak, they have the benefit of all kinds of things, like if you don't show up here on Sunday, you're going to hell, right? Or if you eat meat on Friday, you're committing a sin. Or all of those different things, not 2 sets of dishes, oh, that's not kosher, right? All these different rules that impel people to be engaged. And those things, those ideas, those rules and regulations help bring people through the door. Morality and ethics, which are the foundation of organized religion. What's good and what's bad, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, is foundational. But Unity and this building is a tribute to an idea, not a theology, but a philosophy. The idea of oneness. Unity, oneness. That there is only one thing happening, and that thing that is happening is what I call God or Spirit, and we're all it. And because it's only one, nobody is outside of the purview of this one. Now, I'll give you a moment to bring up all the names of the people you think are outside of the purview of the one. And I know you have some, because I have some too. I'm not going to mention any names. But the truth is, no one is outside of this oneness that we confess here. Now, are they a brilliant, bright, and shining light? Maybe not so much. But they are light anyway. They are spirit, having a human experience just like you and I. So what is the work to do? Well, if the work for me to do is to work on me, the work for all of us is to work on us and to empower others. And I refer you to the affirmations that we had earlier. Our work is to empower others to do the spiritual work. I'm going to conclude a little bit differently today. We started different with very much of an inward exercise, and we're going to do the same as we conclude today. I have prompted Beverly and Bill to do something kind of special. So I'm going to lead you into a closing prayer. And then Beverly is going to sing a piece of music. You'll probably recognize it. And then she's going to repeat it a second time and invite you to join her in singing it. And it'll be up on the screen, I believe. So if you're willing, just go inward again as we did before. Get centered in the absolute holiness of this moment. Get clear on the invitation that is extended to you. I may be extending it, but I'm extending it on behalf of Spirit. The words of our great teacher and way shower, do not be frightened, little flock. Your Father loves you. And so let's not be frightened. Let's not allow ourselves to be taken off the path. Carl Jung said, I'd rather be whole than happy. So let us pray in this moment for wholeness. For myself, I pray for you. I invite you to pray for me and pray for each other, that we be whole. And that the world find wholeness, and that all may be well.
Faith of our fathers, we will love, both friend and foe, in all our strife, and preach thee too as love knows, by kindly words and virtuous life. Faith of our fathers, holy faith, we will be true to thee till death. Please join and sing. Faith of our fathers, we will love, both friend and foe, in all our strife, and preach thee too as love knows, by kindly words and virtuous life. Faith of our fathers, holy faith, we will be true to thee till death. Thank you, Terry, for such a lovely service. We'll sing our second song now, Janet? Okay. You're the soul who understands the scars that made me who I am. And through the sifting sands of time, I got your back and you got mine. And if you bear a heavy load, I'll be the wheels, I'll be the road. I'll see us through thick and thin, through love and loss until the end. 'Cause you carried me with you from the highest of the peaks to the darkness of the blue, I was just too blind to see. Like a lighthouse in a storm, you were always guiding me. Yes, it's true. You carried me with you. From the day it all began, you were there, you took my hand. And when I hurt a bit too deep, you watched me as I fell asleep. When my head was in the clouds, you found a way to pull me out. You picked my heart up off the ground and showed me love was all around. Yeah, you carried me with you. You was just too blind to see. From the highest of the peaks to the darkness of the blue, you carried me with you. You carried me with you. We'd be sitting on the world together, watching as the days turn into night. We know how to brave the stormy weather, and we're never giving up the fight. If you bear a heavy load, I'll be the wheels, I'll be the road. I'll see us through thick and thin, for love and loss until the end. For you carried me with you. From the highest of the peaks to the darkness of the blue, I was just too blind to see. Like a lighthouse in the storm, you were always guiding me. Yes, it's true. You carried me with you. Oh, you carried me with you.
Wow. Give it up one more time for the very talented Beverly Elliott and Bill Costin. And thank you, Terry, for your wonderful Father's Day talk. We so appreciate you, Terry, and this is an important day. We have some beautiful events coming up here to connect and grow all of us here at Unity. Be sure that you watch our website and Facebook pages for the latest events and workshops being hosted right here at Unity of Vancouver. First off, explore your inner being, and the next class will be Thursday, June the 19th. Explore Your Inner Being is an experiential program that allows self-discovery of body, mind, and spirit. Our next class will explore the body and spirituality. This is the relationship between our body and larger dimensions. Terry Collette will lead the discussion and share practices to enhance our awareness of the body and spiritual experiences. Please join us on June 19th from 7 till 9, Unity here on the lower level. All are welcome. Entry is always by donation. We look forward to seeing you. Friday, June the 27th, come and add your voice to a heart-opening evening of gentle healing. Songs of the Soul with performing songwriter and beloved Unity Vancouver regular, Nathan Aswell. These simple chants are in English and in universal in spirit. No experience is needed. Just bring your presence and open heart, and we'll gather in the main sanctuary at 7:30 p.m., where your voice will be present and we will help fill this space with peace and intention. Also, he'll be just back from the walk that he's on right now on the Camino Santiago, so he'll bring an even extra special presence. This beautiful event is offered by donation and is suggested $10 to $20. Reverend Thomas is back with his Power of Prosperity workshop. This session will continue on the discovery of the 4 powers of prosperity. The workshop will dive into universal principles that align us with our natural state of abundance. Together, we will focus and explore the powers of creativity that support our prosperity, imagination, power, love, and zeal. We know that this is not a distant goal, but rather an intricate flow available to every area of our lives. These powers will shape how we think, speak, love, and show up fully alive in our abundant life journey. Join us June the 29th at 1:15 p.m., right after service, so you might want to bring yourself a lunch to come that day. And we will embrace the boundless potential that awaits. Bring your own notebook, pen for note-taking, water, and anything else that you feel you might need. Also, our Course in Miracles study group is here live in the center every Tuesday from 12:30 to 2:30 on the lower level. And also, please check out our mastermind prayer group and join us for this unconditional support of dedicated prayer partners using the easy-to-learn mastermind framework. This has been an amazing prayer, and amazing results come, and thousands of people of Unity churches around the world bless their mastermind partners and their mastermind prayer, and meetings are downstairs in the meditation room every Sunday from 10 to 10:30 on the lower level. And next week, we have a very special guest speaker. We have our own Barb Richards joining us to discuss the often hidden gifts that emerge with growing and aging in our life. Barb, can you just stand up for a moment? We are so blessed. And today's affirmative prayer chaplains are Barb Richards, Mike Richards, Melba Burns, and on Zoom we have Marina Marcos, Cara Roman, and Kimberly Kyler Lubinich. So if you could just stand for a moment, we know that if you'd like to receive confidential prayer, the chaplains will be waiting for you in the front row after the music, and we encourage all of you to experience the benefits of affirmative prayer. Please don't be shy, even if it's your first time. Please enjoy coffee, tea, cookies, and conversations downstairs after the service. And now we bring our gathering to a close, blessing and knowing that the good work you do goes out into the world. Please stand and let us together say our prayer for protection. All together now. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.